Trump calls Putin a liar, says he's done with everything. Sounds like a plot twist, but is it really? As BRICS' powerful economic bloc challenges the US dollar, Trump's rhetoric shifts, and Ukraine just happens to benefit. Coincidence? Not really. We've got a lot to unpack, so stay with us. This is The Gaze. Don't forget to follow our website, YouTube, and socials for more sharp takes and frontline reporting. Putin is not a good man. Putin is a bad man. Putin lies to us. It is impossible to seal the deal with Putin. Putin kills a lot of people in Ukraine. And that was Donald Trump just yesterday. The same Trump that 5 months ago turned heads when he claimed Russian dictator Vladimir Putin, the man who had invaded Ukraine, wanted peace in Ukraine.
I believe he wants peace. I mean, I know him very well. Yeah, I think he wants peace. I think he would tell me if he didn't. I trust him on his subject. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States.
Today, in 5 months of constant bombardment, shelling and burning of Ukrainian cities with 500 to 600 of drones sent to kill Ukrainian civilians every single night, Trump has all of a sudden sung a very different tune in recent days, and especially on Tuesday.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Do you want to sanction him? Lindsey Graham has a sanctions bill on Russia. Do you want him to move
I'm looking at it, yeah. No, I'm looking. The Senate is passing and passed a very, very tough sanctions bill. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
And you'd sign that?
It's an optional bill. It's totally at my option. They passed it totally at my option and to terminate totally at my option. And I'm looking at it very strongly.
Far be it from anyone to seriously suggest that Trump has truly turned on Putin and landed firmly in Ukraine's corner. Trump has signaled over and over again in the last 10 years that he's happy to look unpredictable on the world stage. So what happened? Why such a harsh rhetoric if sharply criticizing Putin always was a card that Trump has been extremely reluctant to pay? What's changed? Some threshold of Ukrainian civilians murdered, men, women, and children, has been reached and crossed? Well, that's not the reason, and let's see why. It's the BRICS summit. Brazil, China, India, Indonesia, United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, Egypt, Iran, and of course, Russia. Finance ministers of all these countries called on Saturday for reform of the International Monetary Fund, including a new distribution of voting rights. They agreed to back the shared proposal at an IMF review meeting coming up in December, which will discuss changes to a quota system that defines contributions and voting rights, and an end to the tradition of European management at the helm. Ready to end the tradition of euro and American dollar as the main world currencies. And Trump did not like it, to say the least.
Any country aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. There will be no exceptions to this policy. Donald Trump, President of the United States, via Truth Social.
Trump didn't spell out what exactly counts as anti-American policies this time, but he's been crystal clear about one thing before. BRICS better not mess with the US dollar. No new currency, no backup plan. So maybe, just maybe, Trump's sudden tough talk isn't really about Russia's missiles or murdered civilians. Maybe it's not about Ukraine at all. Maybe it's about protecting the dollar and stopping BRICS from challenging America's financial throne. But hey, if that's what it takes to get air defense systems to Ukraine, then we say, go ahead, be anti-American BRICS. Let's see what's more you've got. And yes, it's official. The US will keep arming Ukraine. The State Department confirmed it. Even Trump, frustrated by Moscow's broken promises and rising drone attacks, is now on board, for now at least.
That we have been and remain Ukraine's biggest supporters. We care about those people. We care about making sure that they have what they need. The president has been very vocal about the wholesale slaughter that has been going on and how it has to stop, how there has to be a ceasefire, and how it has to be between the two parties. Within that, I noted that, of course, weight And here we do now have the resumption of weapons shipments to Ukraine. The president has been vocal about this. Without the details of exactly what, the president feels obviously very passionate and determined regarding the ability of Ukraine to defend itself.
As a demonstration of the consequences of Trump's change of mood, the White House may send Ukraine another Patriot missile system, reports the Wall Street Journal. Additionally, the Pentagon, under President Trump's orders, plans to deliver more defensive weapons to help Ukraine counter Russian attacks. Stay tuned for more details.
President of the United States, Donald Trump, has stated that Washington must send more weapons to Kyiv. He explained his shift in position on military aid by saying that Ukraine is, quote, being hit very hard.
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons, primarily.
Shortly after Trump's statement, the Pentagon announced that, on the president's orders, additional weapons would be sent to Ukraine. According to Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell, while Washington continues to work toward peace, Ukraine must have the means to defend itself.
At President Trump's direction, the Department of Defense is sending additional defensive weapons to Ukraine to ensure the Ukrainians can defend themselves while we work to secure a lasting peace and ensure the killing stops. Our framework for POTUS to evaluate military shipments across the globe remains in effect and is integral to our America First defense priorities. Sean Parnell, Chief Pentagon Spokesman.
Last week, on July 2nd, the White House paused part of the arms deliveries to Ukraine, citing the need to preserve stockpiles for other defense needs. The pause affected artillery ammunition and air defense systems. This decision raised concerns that the US might be scaling back its military support for Kyiv. Later, on July 4th, following another massive Russian strike on Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky held a phone call with President Trump.
President Trump is very well informed, and I thank him for his attention to Ukraine. We spoke about opportunities in air defense and agreed that we will work together to strengthen protection of our skies. We have also agreed to a meeting between our teams. We had a detailed conversation about defense industry capabilities and joint production. We are ready for direct projects with the United States and believe this is critically important for security, especially when it comes to drones and related technologies. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, on Facebook.
President Zelensky called this phone conversation the most productive to date, while Donald Trump acknowledged that Putin has no intention of ending the war against Ukraine. On July 3rd, the US president spoke with the Kremlin dictator. Afterwards, Trump said, quote unquote, "It just seems like he wants to go all the way and just keep killing people. It's not good. I wasn't happy with it." Politico, citing its sources, reports that several high-level meetings between the US and Ukraine are planned in the near future, both in Italy and Ukraine. The main topic will be US military assistance. According to the outlet, in Rome, US Special Presidential Envoy Keith Kellogg may meet with Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. On July 10-11, President Zelensky is expected to attend the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Rome, reported by Yulia Hronovska, UATV News.
Europeans will never leave Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron said this while speaking in the UK Parliament. The French leader is on a 3-day visit there.
And together we worked very hard during the past few years in order to stand with the Ukrainian people, just helping them to resist. We were right and we are right. And because every time Vladimir Putin's Russia advances in Ukraine, the threat moves closer to us all. We will never accept the theory that might is right. And I want to be clear. This is why, together with you, Mr. Prime Minister, we decided to launch last February this coalition of the willing you mentioned. And this coalition was just the signal that the Europeans will never abandon Ukraine. Never.
And Macron did also say the United Kingdom and France must stand firm to protect the international rules-based order that France and the United Kingdom really invented and made true. A world where each country has the right to be heard and not be simply conquered by stronger neighbors, like it was in the medieval times.
The United Kingdom and France must once again show the world that our alliance can make all the difference. Clearly, we have to work together in order to defend an efficient multilateralism and to protect the international order as we forged it after the Second World War.
European Commissioner for Defense Andrius Kubilius believes that Europe has the resources to simultaneously strengthen its own security and increase military aid to Ukraine. He recalled that during the 3 years of Russia's full-scale invasion, European states and the US provided Ukraine with approximately the same amount of military aid, 60 billion euros.
This aid is not something that would be impossible for us to increase. The question is how and in what way our strategy will support Ukraine and what our long-term strategy towards Russia is. I hope that we will be much clearer in our strategic approach, which will also allow us to support Ukraine more effectively.
Russia's aggressive intentions are not rhetoric, but reality. Lithuania needs to convince its allies of this. This statement was made by President Gitanas Nausėda. At a meeting with heads of Lithuanian diplomatic missions, Nausėda in particular paid much attention to support for Ukraine.
No European country can feel safe without being prepared. Europe has a great responsibility for Ukraine's future. Lithuania is ready to continue to set an example. Gitanas Nausėda, President of Lithuania.
Within 2 to 5 years, Russia may pose a real military threat to European and NATO countries. Therefore, military production in the EU should be increased. This was stated by Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen. She called on the EU to study Ukraine's experience and integrate the Ukrainian defense industry with the European one.
We have to learn from Ukraine. In a very short time, they have established an impressive defense industry, producing weapons and ammunition much faster than we can, developing advanced drones and weapons, while fighting a war that is quite impressive. We have to continue our support to Ukraine in every way we can as Europeans for as long as it takes. With the military support, ammunition, missiles, air defense systems, with investments into the Ukraine defense industry, engage in partnerships with Ukrainian companies, and integrate the Ukrainian defense industry into the European, to our mutual benefit.
The Ukrainian Defense Forces eliminated 1,050 Russian soldiers over the past 24 hours, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In addition, Ukrainian forces destroyed 2 armored combat vehicles, 68 artillery systems, and shot down 227 drones. They also took out 119 units of military vehicles and fuel tankers belonging to the invading forces. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine recorded 183 combat clashes on the front line over the past day. In the northern Slobozhansky and Kursk axis, 16 clashes occurred. In the southern Slobozhansky direction, there were 11 clashes. In the Kupiansk axis, 4 enemy attacks were recorded. In the Liman direction, the enemy attacked 19 times. In the Siversk direction, 4 attacks. In the Kramatorsk axis, 3 clashes. In the Toretsk direction, 10. The fiercest combat area remains the Pokrovsk area, where Ukrainian defenders repelled 67 attacks. And here we have the future of warfare. Russia's top-notch frontline invention, the Mega Barn tank, with additional steel protection for personnel, anti-drone nets, and a demining unit in the front. But in the end, allegedly, the engine blew up because it couldn't carry such weight, so never rest in peace, the Barn tank. It all could be funny, but such screens and additional plates really protect the personnel. Ukrainian forces have been implementing such protective screens since 2014, when Russia invaded Donbass first. And now it seems like the gloomy Warhammer 400,000-like evolution of modern military equipment. Russia has increased the number of missiles and drones launched at Ukrainian territory by 1.6 times over the past months. According to the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrsky, Ukrainian defense forces have shot down around 4,000 enemy aerial targets. Syrsky emphasized that one of Ukraine's top priorities is strengthening and improving the effectiveness of its air defense system. He also commented on the frontline situation, stating that Ukrainian forces have regained and are holding positions in Russia's Kursk and Belgorod regions to prevent the enemy from advancing towards the Ukrainian border.
We continue to restrain a significant group of the enemy in the border areas. The enemy will have no rest there. We spoke separately about building up and improving the unmanned component of our defense capabilities, both in protecting our rear cities, in deterring enemy assaults on the line of contact, and in deep strike attacks on Russian territory. I am monitoring the development of interceptor drones. New crews have been formed. Fighters are being trained. The army needs as many of these high-tech UAVs as possible. Oleksandr Syrsky, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, on Facebook.
And while the Commander-in-Chief says about Russian threat or more strikes against Ukraine, Russians prove it. For the first time, over 700 drones were launched overnight. Russians seem to try to reach their wicked goal of 1,000 Shaheds per night to overload Ukrainian air defenses. On the night of the 9th of July, the enemy attacked with 741 airstrikes all over Ukraine, 728 Shahed strikes UAV and various types of imitator drones, 7 cruise missiles, 6 Kinzhal aerial ballistic missiles. And the main direction of the attack was Volyn, the city of Lutsk. Another newest Russian UAV from the No Analogs in the World series crashed in Tatarstan, Russia. This time it was the Altius, which allegedly flies 10,000 kilometers and carries anti-ship missiles. But it crashed right onto the civilian house in Tatarstan. So, did Trump finally see Putin's true colors, or just red flags for the American dollar? Either way, Ukraine might be getting what it needs: more weapons, more patriots, and more political will. But let's be honest, dictators don't stop because someone feels strongly. They stop when they're forced to. Drop your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more, right here on The Gaze.